Emmerdale has launched a dramatic new storyline for Bear Wolf after he made a shocking admission in the latest episode. Earlier this year, Bear fatally attacked Ray Walters when he intervened as Ray threatened his son Paddy and Dylan. After the incident, Dylan and Paddy worked together to conceal what Bear had done, with Paddy secretly keeping his father away from the rest of the village. While Paddy focused on preventing the truth from coming out, Bear found himself overwhelmed by remorse. In tonight's installment, following an emotional session with a therapist, Bear chose to admit that he was responsible for Ray's death. When the counsellor described him as a good man, she urged him to show compassion towards himself. "Good men don't take lives," a devastated Bear replied. "I ended his. I killed Ray. You call people monsters. That's what I am. That's what he's turned me into." When Paddy and Dylan arrived to check on how the appointment had gone, they were stunned to see Bear being escorted into a police vehicle in handcuffs. As Paddy demanded answers, DS Walsh informed them that Bear had voluntarily confessed. Despite Paddy's attempts to object, the counsellor clarified that Bear had gone straight to the authorities, unable to cope with his guilt any longer. Although it feels like the storyline has reached a turning point, there may still be further developments ahead. In scenes airing next week, Bear is formally charged over Ray's death after confirming to DS Walsh during a police interview that he was responsible. Following his admission, Bear faces a manslaughter charge, while Paddy desperately tries to persuade his father not to plead guilty. Bear could easily end up behind bars, an insider shared. Now that he's been charged with manslaughter, the situation looks bleak. His solicitor points out that he acted in self-defense, meaning bail is possible, but any optimism fades when Bear makes it clear he intends to plead guilty. The following article includes spoilers from the February 16th episode of Emmerdale, which has not yet aired on ITV1, but is already available to stream on ITVX. In the latest installment of Emmerdale, Bear Wolf, played by Joshua Richards, was interrogated by DS Walsh after admitting to murder. During Friday's episode, Bear attended a therapy session with a counsellor named Lucy. He seemed to make real progress, but everything unravelled when she described him as a good man. Without Lucy realising, Bear had kept a huge secret throughout the session, that he was responsible for the death of Ray Walters, portrayed by Joe Absalom. When Lucy encouraged him to show himself compassion, Bear objected, insisting he couldn't possibly be good because he had taken a life. Overcome with guilt, Bear confessed to killing Ray and even contacted the police himself. In today's episode, Paddy waited anxiously in the station reception, confused about why he wasn't allowed to see his father. The reason soon became clear. Bear was already being questioned in an interview room, accompanied by a solicitor and Lucy, who served as his appropriate adult. When DS Walsh began her questioning, Bear immediately admitted that he had killed Ray. Although Walsh appeared willing to accept that part of his account, she became suspicious when Bear claimed he had acted alone in both the murder and the disposal of the body. Walsh doubted that Bear had the physical strength to move Ray's body without assistance. Her suspicions deepened after Bear referred to other voices being present at the time of Ray's death. As Bear refused to implicate Paddy or Dylan Penders, played by Fred Kettle, Walsh shifted her attention to someone else, Moira Dingle, portrayed by Natalie J. Robb. Bear was able to state that Moira, who had previously been a victim of Celia's trafficking operation, had no involvement whatsoever. In defending her, however, he inadvertently mentioned Kane Dingle, played by Jeff Hordley. When Bear described Kane turning up at Tennant's and urging him to go to the police regarding Moira, Walsh interpreted this as a husband attempting to shield his wife from potential charges. Although Bear denied that interpretation, he had grown exhausted and asked to end the interview, halting his cooperation. Walsh then informed him that he would remain in custody overnight and warned that it would be in his best interest to tell the full truth. Emmerdale star hints that Bear is about to face even more trauma. In Friday's Emmerdale episode, Bear Wolf, Joshua Richards, met with a counsellor named Lucy and began to open up about the terrifying experiences he endured on Celia Daniels, J. Griffith Farm. Since returning to the village, Bear has struggled to fully grasp that what happened to him was abusive. This stems from the extreme manipulation he suffered, which led him to believe that Celia was genuinely helping vulnerable people and that Ray was truly his friend. Paddy Kirk, Dominic Brunt, has tried to help his father face the reality of his ordeal, but it became clear recently that Bear wouldn't start healing without professional therapy. Charles Anderson, Kevin Matherin, arranged for Lucy to come to the village. As someone who had been exploited herself, Lucy knew the right way to approach Bear and handle the session sensitively. She gently attempted to guide him toward recognizing Ray as a villain, but it wasn't a simple task. Bear was frequently haunted by visions of Ray. Each time Lucy spoke the truth, Ray would appear in Bear's mind and challenge her words. Progress was made when Bear began talking about Anya, a fellow victim and friend who died after Celia and Ray neglected to provide her necessary medication. Sharing Anya's story helped Bear slowly realize that Ray was far from being a friend. The session reached a turning point when Lucy praised Bear as a good man. Overcome by the weight of hiding his deadly secret, Bear broke down and admitted to killing the man who had imprisoned him for months. The episode concluded with a shocked Paddy watching as his father was led away in a police car. Bear, a much-loved character, has already endured so much, and the struggles are far from over. Calling Bear's act of killing Ray poetic justice, Joshua Richards recently revealed that his character's next chapter involves being interrogated by D.S. Walsh. The storyline triggers another set of moral dilemmas, Joshua explained, because the horror isn't finished yet. He hinted at what's coming. The police officer is particularly relentless. She wants to solve this crime, but also seems intent on implicating as many people as possible. She isn't after just one person. She's casting a wide net that includes Moira, Kane, Paddy, Dylan, and Bear. D.S. Walsh will formally charge Bear with manslaughter. According to Joshua, Bear believes he must accept responsibility for his actions. In his view, taking a life, even in self-defense, is serious. He sees it as a life-for-a-life situation. Even though he was under extreme duress and barely aware of his actions, he still feels accountable, Joshua explained. He hinted at what's coming. The police officer is particularly relentless. She wants to solve this crime, but also seems intent on implicating as many people as possible. She isn't after just one person. She's casting a wide net that includes Moira, Kane, Paddy, Dylan, and Bear. D.S. Walsh will formally charge Bear with manslaughter. According to Joshua, Bear believes he must accept responsibility for his actions. He added, Bear has a certain misguided sense of honor. He believes he must confess to what he did, despite being largely unaware of it in the moment. Emmerdale airs Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. on ITV1, with episodes also available on ITVX.